New beginnings are in the air, possibly for one of the most political acts you do each day. Eat. With every bite, you can take a stand for the animals, your body, the environment. Time to go vegan? Author Jackie Day will show the way. Next on the PETA Podcast. Welcome to the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo, your host for this behind-the-scenes look at PETA, the largest animal rights organization in the world. On today's episode, The Vegan Way by author Jackie Day. Day's book is kind and friendly and helps you understand why you want to be vegan in the first place. It's more than just the food. Plus, she's not a member of the vegan police who will wag their finger and scold you into being a vegan. Recently, we had a fun chat about how she changed her lifestyle and how she came to write The Vegan Way, 21 days to a happier, healthier, plant-based lifestyle that will transform your home, your diet, and you. My conversation with author Jackie Day on the PETA Podcast. I was saying we got to do something on veganism. I mean, I am proud to say that I have not just read your book, but I've studied, that I've done the T.Colin Campbell course. So I feel eminently qualified to at least burp at a table with people who've written books on veganism. And, so anyway, Jackie, I read your book and I want to prove it to you because I want to go straight to the end. At the end of your book, it says, on that note, I leave you with 3 little reminders. You say, remember, you can't be a perfect vegan. So just do your very best and keep moving forward. You say, strive to become a healthy vegan by eating lots of fresh whole fruits, veggies, seeds, nuts, beans, and legumes. Remember, health is wealth. You say, and last, remember to relax now and then. Inhale the good, exhale the bad. And then you say, and always keep that chin up, buttercup. I need you. And the entire world does too. See, when I read that, I said, this is my kind of vegan book, you know?
Oh, you're so kind. Well, I'm glad that you felt compelled to enjoy it and share it.
Well, because you don't go into it as saying you got to be vegan. You're not a finger-wagging vegan. You're a nice vegan.
Yeah, because for me at least, I found that that's what works best, is to be very welcoming. Because for a lot of people, they didn't go vegan overnight, myself included. Yeah. So I understand.
You mean you ate meat before?
Hard to believe I ate animals. It makes me feel absolutely horrid. But as with most children growing up, animals were served on our plates. But luckily, something happened to me when I was 13 years old. A couple things that got my brain thinking. As you noticed in the book, one thing, for example, is that our dog nudged me under the table and he wanted a little treat from the dinner plate, and I obliged and gave him a little treat. And then I stabbed my fork into a cow on top of the table, and I didn't understand the difference between a cow and a dog. So that just got me thinking that, people look different and act different and, have different accents and everything, but we try to treat them all respectfully. And why wasn't I treating a cow the same as a dog? And then the other thing that happened right around at 13 was that, I grew up in a European family, and my mother is British and, cooked traditional British fare, heavy with the dairy and the meats, etc. But she had one night she had us have what were TV dinners back then. And I bit into a piece of chicken, and a blue purpley vein snapped back on the bone, and I realized I wasn't eating a food named chicken. I was actually eating a bird, a dead bird, and I'd been fed these animals that I didn't realize were actually real, living with a heart that beat animals. Wow. So for me, that's when the transition took place to stop eating meat.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because it always begins with a dog, right? The dogs, they always get in the way, But although I know you're a cat person too, so I know. but but
Yes.
but it takes a major reframing where you say, "Oh my God, that's not a chicken, that's a bird, or that's not a dog, that's a cow." What's you have to make that something has to happen to incite all this in your head to say, I got to look at things different. You're different
Yeah.
because you did that, but how about other people? What is it? What is it for them? What's going to be that moment?
It really all depends. It's different for everyone, and it could be the environment that inspires them. It could be something from the doctor that says, "Hey, you change your diet, or you're going to have a heart attack and die." It could be some environmental awareness that they're doing all these different things to help save the environment, not realizing it's mostly plastic lines left over from debris of the fishing industry that's creating that garbage patch in the ocean. And if they stopped eating fish, that might help, as much or more than recycling their plastic bottles. So it's kind of that awakening, or one really bad experience like I had with the chicken, or when I went vegan, 10 years later, it was simply being at a peaceful protest and a stranger asking for a ride home who seemed nice enough, and I obliged, actually to her friend's house. And on the way home, she asked me if I ate milk. And I said, yes, don't you? And she said, no. She, reminded me what happens to the male dairy cows who can never, give milk. They go off to the veal industry. And what happens to the mother cows once they can no longer give dairy milk? They're killed. And she went through every animal product. And within 30 minutes, by the time I dropped her off, I was vegan. And she was the only vegan I knew. This is way back in 87. And I never saw her again. So for me, it was just this fortuitous moment of, helping someone get to their friend's house.
Just like the fortuitous moment of people finding this podcast and hearing us talk about this. Really, right? Because
sure.
You were 23, right?
Yes.
You were 23 because 10 years, you were 13 when you made all these other connections in your head about, dogs and cows and birds and chickens. And, you became gradually, I guess you were a vegetarian, I guess, at that point, at 13.
Yes.
And then
yes.
10 years later, so you hear a conversation and they say, vegan. The thing goes off in your head that says you're vegan. But it seems to me that there's got to be this almost like an inciting incident, just sort of like a narrative structure. There's something that incites you to think, oh my God, I have to see the world differently, right? It really takes it's like a worldview in a way, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think that comes with a lot of issues. It's not even just with animals, but just how we treat people, or things that we purchase in stores, or activities we enjoy or don't enjoy. A lot of times we just have this experience that we suddenly change how we act and live our lives from there on out.
Yeah. And when you say vegan and this gradual change, you went vegetarian first, and then ultimately vegan when you were at a protest, which shows that you were on this path. Right?
Yes.
You were already on this path. You were inclined to do vegan things. You were on the vegan way. The sign said not Glendale, not San Diego. It said vegan this way. You were going there. So,
right.
All right. Now, reading your book, it says 3 letters. It spells out on the page A, B, and E. A, of course, was animals. And B is your body. And E
is the environment.
And it's when I saw that in your book, A, B, and E, I said, wow, did she make that mnemonic device for me?
That's totally a coincidence.
Okay, well then I'll in my next speech I will use it, and I will credit you.
No, credit you. You came up with it.
Well, I just think, everyone who asks me, well, why did you become vegan? And of course, I ask my wife this, and she always says, well, it's your why. Why do you want to be vegan? And you answer it with those 3 letters, A, B, and E.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. The animals, we don't want to eat them. Tell me about the body part. I mean, look, you're very svelte, as they say. We see you doing planks in your book. Another reason to know that I read the book, or another way to know I read the book. We see you doing planks. Well, what, you didn't have to lose weight or anything like that. We weren't an Oreo vegan. So what was your
Yeah,
body telling you?
your body likes whole foods and it loves fiber, which comes from fresh fruits and vegetables. And I used to always tell my students it's like working your body on the inside a workout, not just the outside. And so if you put good food inside yourself, you're constantly working out your organs. Yet if you're not too overweight, then your body doesn't have to work extra hard, to breathe and move around in your heart, etc. So unfortunately, dietary guidelines from the government have pushed out this agenda just to support big ag that we need dairy for, healthy bones and we need lots of protein so we'll be strong. And of course, that has to come from animals, etc. The reality is we don't need any of that. And just to eat as many healthy, plant-based whole foods as possible. And you don't have to worry and count calories every second. And, it's an easier way of living.
Yeah, people don't realize this, that your body needs, like you said, fiber. It needs basic nutrients. It needs a certain amount of protein, not massive amounts of protein. If anything, it needs complex carbohydrates, and it
Yep.
needs some fat, not a lot. Some, you get enough from, you don't have to add any fat. You can just eat nuts, a couple of nuts. You can eat, complex carbohydrates, not the simple. You don't want simple. But your body, if you eat just good food, you don't have to diet. You can eat all the good food you want.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And of course, I can't give medical advice, but we really don't need. Most Americans do not need as much protein as they're eating. If anything, you need less.
Yeah.
And I'm 56. I tried to get my blood tested, every year, and I've never been deficient in protein ever, ever. And it's been decades since I've eaten animal products. It's just not an issue.
Yeah. Was that a giraffe or an elephant shrieking in the background there?
Oh, our neighbors have chickens.
Oh,
can you believe it?
They have chickens.
And they have chickens and they run around and they are often here visiting.
Well, okay, let them know you're vegan and they'll feel like they'll be attracted to you immediately.
Oh, they are. Trust me, they lay their eggs here.
And then you're gonna have to tell your neighbors, they laid eggs here, but you don't really have to eat them.
Exactly. Trust me, they know I'm vegan.
Yeah, and especially if they not just because of the A in ABE, but if they think of the B, their body, that egg will give them cholesterol, will give them all sorts of things. Look, you're right. We're not doctors, but here's a thing that I've learned through my studies under Colin Campbell's course, E-Cornell course. People they just buy into that they need more protein. They buy into that they need all this. They don't need all this,
Yeah, those big jars of whey powder and get ripped in a Jif protein puff.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
You don't need it. I mean, and also as a former Weight Watchers guy, they went on a point system. Anyone out there who wants to lose weight because of veganism, right, or they want to turn to vegan, just think of what happened in Weight Watchers. No points for all the vegetables you want, essentially, right?
Yeah.
That should tell you something about veganism. That it's a good thing. So your body was telling you, Jackie Day, that this is a vegan diet would be better for my body.
Yes. But I went vegan for the animals.
Yeah.
So for me, even if being vegan would kill me in a week, I would still be vegan because I can't hurt an animal. Right. However, being healthy and feeling energetic and happy and feeling like I can go hiking whenever I want, as I'm approaching 60, health is definitely a benefit. So if I wasn't vegan for the animals, I would definitely be vegan for my health.
Yeah. And, the health thing, it really is a matter like, T.Colin Campbell says, decide what kind of health you want, and then decide what kind of food gives you that health. Because health is
Yeah.
all about food. It's not about a pill. It's not about taking a statin so you can eat all the meat you want. It's about eating healthy. It's about your nutrition. And
Right.
a lot of people don't look at labels. They don't, labels is like the beginning of it all, but it's not very hard to understand that there is bad food out there and you should warn yourself against it.
Yeah, and we're really duped by those labels. It's mostly just marketing, and there's all sorts of slick tricks on the ingredients label. They can, make sugar be 10 different types of sugar, and suddenly sugar is not the top ingredient, etc. But I just want to point out, it's not that I never have a vegan cupcake or a vegan cookie. I'm not anti-vegan sweet treats, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
They're more of a treat, not everyday stuff.
Yeah, it's funny that you mention that, because as I was going through my my course to become certified in plant-based nutrition, I just come back from Portland, and I was extolling the virtues of the great vegan donuts up there. And my God, I must have seemed like a heretic to these people, these whole food plant-based people, because I was, the vegan donuts at this place and that place and this place. But since then, I have adopted your way that, hey, all that sugar, not good. As an occasional treat, okay, but vegan or not good.
Yeah, I try to have a banana or a date, some cashews. You find sweet treats that are satisfying to help with the craving. But I'm glad those vegan donuts are out there, because it's really hard sometimes for people to go from eating a traditional, standard American diet, speaking appropriately, SAD acronym,
right.
Going straight to the whole foods plant-based diet. Sometimes you need these stepping stones to get there.
Yeah.
So I get it.
And you point out that there's a lot of vegans out there who are Oreo vegans and are potato chip vegans and overweight.
I used to. I'm first to raise my hand, and then I wrote a blog post, and I said, the top ramen, the miso top ramen, Oriental style thing they had, that was vegan, but totally unhealthy.
Right.
And the Oreos that were vegan, unhealthy. And then there were these Doritos that I used to eat that were totally unhealthy. I wrote it down in a blog post. I said, I'm not eating these anymore. I'm memorializing it in writing, and I haven't had any since. But, I get it. I was once like that.
Yeah, and it's important. So we covered A, animals, B, your body, and let's cover the last reason why, E, for the environment. And this is a big one, and maybe bigger in the last, say, 10, 15 years than it ever has been. But what is the environmental reason to be vegan?
The standard American diet simply isn't sustainable. We talk about so many issues that are important in our world and worth fighting for, but honestly, none of them matter if there's no planet to live on.
Right.
We're leaving. Bye-bye, goodbye humans. Thanks for playing. You messed up, ciao, ciao.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if we want, the future generations to have somewhere to live, air to breathe, dirt to grow plants in, and water, we have to transition, because it's simply horrible. They're creating the toxic runoff from big ag is creating dead zones that are killing everything in the waterways. As I expressed earlier about the fishing nets that are being discarded are creating garbage patches where nothing can thrive. We have to switch what we're doing. We're growing all this grain and giving it to these animals that are housed in horrific conditions. And then you have to think society-wise, the people living around these concentrated agricultural food lots, they're exposed to the toxins too. It's not fair to people either, and the workers in the slaughterhouse.
Right. And just think of the runoff from the water, just the damage it does to the fresh water, just around the country, let alone the world. And we haven't even touched on global warming,
Right.
And cow flatulence, which is one of my favorite topics. But, we haven't even touched on that. But So between A, B, and E, animals, your body, and the environment, why doesn't
It's a no-brainer.
yeah?
Go vegan.
We should all be vegan. But all right, so suddenly it seems like everyone's gone vegan, but it is a lot, but it's not that much. I mean, relative to the meat eaters, we're still a minority, right?
Yes, but there is hope. And the way I look at it is with any paradigm shifts, it's not that you suddenly convince everyone to be just like you. It's that the new generations of people are born into a society that is different.
Yeah.
And that's how the shift occurs. And you get to a tipping point where there's enough people around you when you're born into that environment or a vegan environment that it's easy to become vegan. So, back in the old days when I was, a little kid, you were lucky to find a plain white slab of tofu, right?
Right.
But
right.
now, if a child, wants to have a vegan meal, you can even go to Taco Bell and get one.
Yeah.
So it's that systemic change that's really helping.
Well, and yet, look, we notice we've given ourselves reasons to be vegan, and we're now only just beginning to really talk about food, because we have the corporations now embracing veganism, saying, hey, here's Beyond Meat, here's Impossible, here's the fake meat. Fake meat was really hard back in the 80s to find. You'd find the little canned food.
Oh.
And then even Morningstar Farms was not totally vegan. They had the egg white.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's new, changing to vegan for them. Yeah.
And so I remember when my wife, Kathy, helped start the Vegan V project over at PETA, how hard it was just to get, stuff from the grocery store. And now we have all this stuff, but still, you don't want to rely on the fake meats because they can be harmful. They're loaded with fat, first of all.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, with moderation, just like that vegan cupcake is a treat. Again, as much of the whole food you can get, the better. But I kind of look at them as just this really healthy transitional food for people who, are trying to do the right thing. And it's really hard to just go to, just a whole foods plant-based diet. So I'm super grateful for those companies and helping people make the switch.
Well, I'm glad too, because it shows that if people can make money off this, then, we're in a capitalist society, others will follow, but people are out there clamoring for this even before they decided to sink a bunch of money into sustainable meat or sustainable fake meat. So here we've given ourselves the reasons to become vegan, right? A, B, and E. We got we got people wanting to cater to us. And when we do this recording, it's January and it's time for new beginnings. And so people are saying to themselves, yeah, let's try this vegan thing. Just don't give me kale. I love kale. So, okay. But some people say, don't give me kale. But what do you tell people? Say, all right, let's become vegan. What do you tell them?
The first suggestion, first, thank you. I love you. Yay. But the first big suggestion is don't go crazy with hard to find ingredients or expensive ingredients, fancy recipes. Take something you love and veganize it. Don't go off and try a whole new thing that's hard. You'll feel defeated. You might not like the taste, but do it simple. It could be, like I said, it could be, spaghetti and leave off the meat in your marinara. It could be in your tacos, put black bean tacos instead of the meat tacos, or your coffee in the morning, maybe get a soy milk latte instead of a dairy milk latte.
Right.
Simple little changes.
Right. And that is really the key to anything massive. And one thing I like about your book, The Vegan Way, is that it's less about recipes, less about the food, but more as this helper to get you over the humps. And there will be humps. And it's more like an acknowledgement that it's like, accept the vegan way, accept this ABE, animals, body, and environment, and let's go on the journey. And you say it's and like you said earlier about writing your blog, I'm not gonna eat the Oreos. I'm not gonna eat the chips. You journaling helps. Writing in a journal helps. It's almost like the artist's way, right? Where you're,
Yes.
and
You're memorializing it. It's just for yourself. If someone else reads it or you choose to share it, great. But there's something about the act of writing it down that is really, really beneficial. My editor loves cooking. He asks that I sprinkle some recipes in there. So I put, a couple dozen recipes, but thank you for pointing out it's not a cookbook, because there are lots of vegan cookbooks and they're awesome and beautiful, but I don't think they necessarily help you become vegan.
Well, here's the thing, Jackie, I notice you're a teacher. You're also a lawyer, but you're a teacher.
I failed the bar, not a lawyer, because I took the
all right.
bar as I was writing the book.
well, better. So the point is, JD, you're a teacher. Yeah. It's just important to get the information out. And there's a lot of
Yes, and make it easy.
Yeah.
Make it easy so you're not starting square one trying to figure out everything on your own. And if you've been vegan for decades like me, you know what makes things easy. So, it was nice to write it that way.
And also, look, I was vegetarian first, then vegan. But there are these, you're going to come up to these moments where, I want to eat, because you see nothing but when you see an ad for a pizza or burgers or something, they essentially on television, it's like food porn. They tempt you like crazy, and you have to gird up all your might and think about the animals in your body and the environment. It's hard, and your book acknowledges that this vegan way is really kind of almost like a I don't want to say psychological, philosophical kind of thing, but it does say that you got to want to do this. And just like you had that shift in your head about these are animals I'm eating. Or this.
Yes, 100%. It's a mind shift that happens to you. And the example I used was eating barbecued, newborn baby fingers, and how disgusting or repulsive that would sound. And once you've been vegan for a while, like me, eating an animal sounds as disgusting as something like that. And so even if you were short on money, or even if you had to drive, 6 hours to get other food, like you would just never eat grilled newborn baby fingers. It's a mindset. And eventually it gets that way with the animals too. So when you see those commercials, it's like disgusting. I muted or changed the channel because I don't want to see an animal's body part on a grill. It's just disgusting to me.
Yeah. Or, in the case of cheese, if you know that casein is part of dairy, and if you know what T.Colin Campbell says, casein is carcinogenic, and, you should avoid all those dairy products, and maybe you have a natural tendency to be lactose intolerant. All that stuff is bad for your body. That's the B part. So the A and the B, and then what the dairy cows do to the environment. There's the A, B, and E, and you say, I got to go vegan. Now,
and do you really want to be an addict? I mean, the lactose and the casein it's addictive. Do you really want to be? I mean, there's a reason why we keep craving it, but then you have to think back and think, gosh, we're the only animal that keeps suckling past being a baby, and then we go to other animals to suckle their milk. Like, it really doesn't make sense. It's only perpetuated so dairy farmers can make money.
Yeah, and dairy farmers who are propped up by the government, propped up by, it just, when you start looking at it, you just say, I've got to change my diet. I've got to go vegan. Your book is out. It says 21 days. Why 21? I'm sure you've answered this before. What is the magic of 21?
The magic of 21, I was lucky. I had, this fantastic big house editor, a literary agent who came to me asking me to write a book. And they asked if it could be a 21-day book because supposedly in the world of psychology, it takes, at least 21 days to change a habit. So I said, sure, happy to write a book. I can make it 21 days. So that's how we did it. And which I think is good, because I think it is more difficult sometimes for people to go overnight. So, and you can switch up the days. You don't have to go in the same order. You can condense it, spread it out longer,
So you could read the book 3 times over and make it 60 days or 63 days.
Sure.
Or you can make it 6 months. But the point is, you're going to have these stumbles. You're going to have these. This is the other reason I liked about your book. No guilt. There's no guilt about this. It's guilt-free.
No guilt.
Yeah. And look, I'm
100%.
Yeah. And I'm my culture, my family tends to be Catholic. So the Catholics tend to be, oh no, you can't do that. Or we feel bad about eating, and we're punitive. But I've learned that, look, a vegan diet is a loving diet. And it's a loving kind of perspective. So it makes sense to be loving toward yourself in the event that you might fall off the wagon. There's no falling off the wagon, is there?
Well, we all have ups and downs in our lives, and we sometimes accidentally eat something we didn't mean to eat. And I consider it expanding our circle of compassion and including people in that expansion. So I wouldn't want to be aggressive with someone and you must do something I say, but to understand from their shoes too, how they grew up and what they were told or how they were duped. So I think we need to be kind to animals and people.
Yeah. And to ourselves. I mean, like you mentioned, like, how did you grow up? Like, all right, I'm Filipino. We have a ton of pork in our lives. We eat pork in it's ridiculous. Between the pork and the cows, we are, we're walking cholesterol, heart disease time bombs, right? And I dare say if I did not change, I'd be 30 pounds heavier and much closer to heart disease than I am today. And I owe it to the vegan diet. Now, that message has to get across to Filipinos who are on that kind of diet, or Asian Americans who are eating too much salt and have high blood pressure and hypertension, or the diabetes crowd, right? Too much sugar in our diets. It gets back to the B part, the body. Do it for your body.
Right. And I think integral in that shift is also providing healthier options for kids in schools, because when you're a kid, you get used to the foods that you're given and you keep craving them or become addictive. And, you're kind of set that way for life. It's setting you off on that path. So I think the younger kids start with enjoying healthier fruits and vegetables and grains and legumes and seeds, et cetera, the better.
Yeah. And, the idea of guilt, because a lot of people, they won't do it because they think, oh, it's too hard. I'll do it, and then I'll fall off, and I'll feel guilty. I'll feel bad. I'll gorge in Doritos or whatever, and but it doesn't have to be that way. It's a kinder thing to become vegan.
Yes, and every meal helps. Yeah. Let's say you just have one vegan meal. You've helped the world. You've helped the environment. You've helped your body and the animals with that one meal. Yeah. So you could maybe even start just having one vegan meal a day. Then maybe one day of being vegan a week. And then you're going to fall in love with the food. Yeah. You're going to fall in love with the way you feel. And you're going to feel just so empowered and fall in love with the world around you and know you're making it a better place. You're going to want to keep going.
Yeah. And, and a lot of people, and you mentioned this in your book, you say, how technically vegan do you have to be? If something like, for example, when someone said, oh, here's vegan wine. Vegan wine? You mean wine is not vegan, it's grapes. And they say, oh, well, there's casein and, they it's from animals and that makes it non-vegan. Okay. Or like say something like honey, which is from bees. That's obvious. But some people think, oh, well, the bees they're not harmed by it. There's all these people, they're the hardcore vegans who say, it's all animals. You can't do it. And then there's the more functional ones who say, it's not that bad, is it? And what was your suggestion in the book? Because I know you get into that.
Yes. Well, my suggestion was to follow your heart because there are two minds of thoughts here. I call them, the politely picky vegan and the let it slide vegans. And I myself am a politely picky vegan, but I think it's just because I've been vegan for so long. And, just take one step at a time. And then the more you find out and the more you feel like you can adjust and avoid those even minute things, the better. But not to, as I say over and over, you cannot be a perfect vegan. I wish we could. I say, save me a ticket on the first rocket ship out to the planet. If you can find a planet where we can be a perfect vegan, I want to be that. Yeah. But it's simply impossible. So we all just have to do the best that we can.
Yeah, relieve the guilt, and I'll tell you, I've been doing the PETA podcast now for 3 years, and I talked to one of the vegan counselors at PETA. And this was one of my questions. I was like, and he was so good. He said, look, you don't have to beat yourself up about it. But a lot of people will approach this thinking, I got to be perfect. I've got to be I've got to, and the imperfection of it all will drive you back to meat. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I say just start off by adjusting what you love. Whatever you love to eat, just put a little vegan twist on it and go from there. Easy peasy. It really, seriously, it's easy to be vegan and it's affordable. Yeah. You're going to save. Imagine how much our country would save in work productivity, the economy, the environmental cleanup costs that we pay for everything. It saves so much money to be vegan too. It's truly is easy.
A lot of people that I talk to, they'll say, and they're obviously veganism would help them. They're overweight. Something's wrong. And I'll say, you should try vegan. And they'll say, well, I tried this app and it delivered my food, but it was too much prep. I didn't have time to be vegan. What do you tell those people?
Oh, my goodness. No, just chop up some vegetables and throw them in a pan. Or, I microwave a little bag of rice and put it in with beans and corn, a little sriracha on top, a tortilla on the side if you want. Pasta. How many easy pasta dishes could you make? Yeah. Krautfleckel is a pasta with cabbage. Couldn't be easier. Right. It's easy. Truly it is.
Yeah, I'm surprised that now, we are no oil vegans because, possibly because of the propensity of heart disease in my family. I really feel so much better. I've kept, like I said, I used to be like 25, 30 pounds heavier than I am now. And sometimes I tell people, look, if you don't want to exercise, just be vegan. Just be vegan. That'll help because you'll lose the weight. The other thing I notice is that if you intermittent fast, because it's hard sometimes to, because you want to just devour everything whenever you feel. It's really not, when you're a regular person, you don't think about eating. But when you have to think about eating, you obsess, you want to grab and snack. So I do an intermittent fast where I only eat within a certain window. I give myself between 6 hours, maybe as little as 4 hours sometimes. And then I try not to be voracious in those hours where I'm, that I give myself to eat because I'm fasting for anywhere between 16, 18 or 20 hours. It's it depends on how I feel, but that's helped too. Being able to do intermittent fasting with veganism. I don't know. Do you have any other tricks like that? What do you think about intermittent fasting? Am I doing something wrong?
I tried it, but I didn't succeed. So
you tried it.
I got hungry. So congratulations to you. But I definitely suggest people try different things. And I commend you on eliminating oil. I think that's definitely something we don't need in our diets either. Of course, if you're just transitioning to becoming vegan and keep, the oil in as you transition if you want, but you could just use water and just about everything instead of oil and it cooks up just fine.
Exactly.
Making a big pot of stew, vegetable stew. Simply start with, onions on the bottom with a little, water, and then just slowly add what you have in your kitchen and make a big pot of soup or stew. I mean, just really, and baked potatoes. How many things can you do with a baked potato? I put them in the toaster oven, forget about them for an hour, they're done. And then I can put on a can of vegan chili or black beans and corn, avocado with everything but the bagel sprinkled on top. So easy.
So easy. Here's my thing for a baked potato. I'll bake it a little bit. I'll cook it a little bit, because what you can do is you can chop up the potato and make it into like a French fry. And then you put it in the air fryer and it maintains a moisture. So my thing is bake potato for a little bit. Now, don't bake it all the way. A half baked potato, cut it up so it maintains its form as a French fry, and then stick it in the air fryer, no oil, and then get some organic ketchup and maybe a touch of salt. You can go 1,500 milligrams. That's not too much.
Yeah.
But
yummy.
Yeah, it is. And that is like a go-to, no fat, complex carb. It sort of makes your palate, it evens out your palate somewhat, so that you don't miss the foods that you used to eat because, you're eating too much. But that's and then the rice and beans go to with the pico de gallo. I love the pico de gallo. Stick it on there. It's not sriracha, but sriracha's kind of hot. But pico de gallo, you get, it's like fresh, and then blueberries. That's my diet. I mean,
I love blueberries.
Yeah, that's my go-to, and I don't miss it. And then I'll cheat sometimes.
With what?
Potato chips.
Oh, potato chips.
That's not a cheat, but it is sort of, loaded with fat. Loaded with fat, but and the salt, the sodium. But but if your cheats are that instead of a porterhouse steak or something like that.
Oh yeah. Eat your chips. Yeah.
It's so it's all kind of relative, but I have gotten out of the habit of guilt. And when I read your book, I saw that it was totally guilt-free. It was really friendly, and the journaling. Journaling is helpful, and I mean that's a really prescribed thing with your book. People should do.
Yeah, and I think it's an outgrowth of what I was doing for myself, was simply journaling. And I was writing on my blog for 10 years and just writing about being vegan and what's out there, and it was therapeutic for me. And I enjoy that. I think it's helpful for everyone, and studies show it really helps too. It's not just me saying journaling is helpful. It's psychologically it's helpful too.
Yeah. Now you still do your blog?
It's the 10-year anniversary, and I'm slowing down in anticipation of hopefully writing a second book. And I've been more focused on op-eds recently.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still writing, but less on my blog.
Yeah. Well, that's important. I don't write as much as my blog. I actually throw more videos on my blog because it says, less editing, less writing, more talking.
Yeah.
And, but all right. So where do you think, do people stop you on the street and say, hey, here's my problem? Is there like one big problem that they usually have when they approach you, for help?
It's really quite an array. A lot of people, feel it's expensive. A big misconception is that it's time consuming.
Right.
And then a lot of times they feel like they don't have the support, like the rest of their family eats animal products, and they just don't feel like they have a community connection. But I think that it's time consuming to learn new ways of cooking when it really isn't. I mean, you don't even need cookbooks, as I keep saying. You just adjust what you already love. So
if I did something where I said, look, if you need support, you can email me or text me anytime. Do you think that would be helpful for the emerging vegan community?
Oh, yeah. And there's so many, Facebook groups now and different communities of people helping each other. I even put in my book, feel free to reach out to me. I think it's always helpful when people extend a helping hand.
Yeah, it's simpler than it sounds really, but when you're in it and you're hungry or you're tempted or you feel like giving up or you're going to a party and everyone is going to have fun and they look at you funny. Right now it's kind of hip to be vegan, right?
It's changing, that's for sure. I mean, when I first went vegan and went to the doctor, my doctor didn't know what the word vegan meant. So it's now hip. And I accidentally went to a doctor for a checkup recently. They turned out to be vegan. So
Yeah.
this is how far we've come.
Yeah. Well, is it possible that it could be too hip that it swings the other way? That people say, "Oh, you're vegan." Like, I'll hang out with some comedians, and it was cool once to be the vegan. Now it's cool to make fun of the vegans and to attack the vegans. Do you think that's going to become a thing, and then people will shy away from being vegan because of that?
I always think of these things as thinly veiled excuses. So if you want to be vegan, you're going to be vegan. If you want to find an excuse, you're going to find an excuse. So I think a lot of times our guilt reflex kicks in and we make fun of someone that we aspire to be, or we make fun of someone we don't understand. And I think it's just this guilt reflex that kicks in.
The vegans, we are the new other.
Yeah.
People see us and oh, you're Filipino and vegan. Oh, that must be great at the Filipino party when they serve the pig blood stew, or they bring out the pork lechon. And I say, yeah, you know what? They respect me. In fact, they ask about uh, whether or not they can bring a vegan dish to the party. And I don't know if you've noticed the landscape, but there's I won't say a ton, but there are more vegan restaurants that are Filipino oriented than ever before. We don't have to just eat at the Chinese or the Asian restaurant, but there are Filipinos working on things that look like fat rendered things that aren't fat, that are in fact, not a non-animal, like sort of beyond meat or beyond beef lechon. So I think in our diverse society, people are embracing veganism I think it's only going to grow, right?
Oh, 100%. There's no other direction for it to go. Like it either grows or we cease to exist. So,
I,
we won't be around to see it not grow. Let's put it that way. Either we'll be here and everyone goes plant based, or bye bye.
I forgot that option. The big exit. It is. If we don't all go vegan, it is going to be because the regular the standard American diet, the SAD diet, and all the industry that supports that, not sustainable.
No, and what's great is there's money to be found in other industries now that promote veganism. So as soon as the money's there, that's where everyone's going, as we're seeing right now. I mean, there's, I think, a 1.4 billion pound of cheese surplus just sitting at the government because the government buys it up and schleps it out to schools, et cetera, because people aren't eating dairy as much. So it is happening.
I know that happening because when I was growing up and we got the free cheese, we got so much free cheese we didn't eat. We started making living room furniture out of the cheese.
A cheese couch.
The cheese, it was a cheese couch. We weren't couch potatoes. We were cheese potatoes.
Yeah,
Cheese couch
a cheese
potatoes.
couch.
So, well, look, Jackie, see, look, people will listen. They'll say, oh, those vegans sound like they're having fun. I want what they're having. Well, you'll definitely want what Jackie Day is having because she's having a good time talking and writing about veganism. And, like I said, since I took that T.Colin Campbell course, I realized I I have some information as a whole food plant based guy that I haven't been using as a to spread the word about veganism. I would just hope for vanity's sake, they'd say, "Oh, you look like you've lost 20 pounds, Emil." I said, "No, I haven't lost 20 pounds. I've adopted veganism." Right? It's not a matter.
Yeah.
The pounds is just an outcome of being vegan.
Yeah, you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
It's just a way of living that's easier and healthier and fun. And you don't have to feel guilty or anything. It's awesome. And thank you for doing this podcast, because just like that girl that I gave a ride home to that was visiting from Canada, this will touch someone somewhere, Emil.
Well, Jackie, thank you for saying that. And, hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast again. We'll talk about your book. You let people who see your books know that, hey, you can always talk to that podcast guy on the PETA podcast if you need support. He'll text you back saying, stay the course. We got 21 days, but we can make it 22. Jackie says it's okay. It doesn't have to be strictly 21.
That's right. This is the book.
The Vegan Way. And look, I have it on Amazon here. I can, anyway, the book is special because it's not about recipes. It's not about cooking. It's strictly, what is that? That's my phone. It's strictly about getting over the hump in a nice, kind, gentle way and knowing why you're doing it. And you spell it out very well. Jackie did.
I am so grateful for you saying that and for understanding the purpose of the book.
It dawned on me immediately. Look, I love Neil Barnard's book and Dr. Greger and, all the doctors, Ornish, and, I'm a G-Bombs fan, Dr. Furman, they didn't make me go vegan. Not really. I mean, I had to understand why it was important. And your approach is a good one. And I am more than happy to let people know about your book, The Vegan Way. And I hope that you come back on the podcast again and talk more about veganism and vegan issues and vegan topics, because, you're not a doctor. You're a non-bar membered lawyer. That's better than no, this is the thing about doctors. Doctors they don't necessarily know about food. They don't necessarily know about nutrition. They know, me taking that T.Colin Campbell course and reading your book, I know more about nutrition than most doctors. I don't say all doctors, because some doctors have discovered there's a big hole in their knowledge, and it has to do with nutrition. You can't just
100%.
Yeah, you can't just keep
spot on.
Yeah, you can't just keep giving statins to people and say eat all the steak you want. You got to start saying, hey, it's not about the pills, it's about the food that gives you the health that you want. And so
right. Yeah. No, 100%. It's all about prevention, and it turns out prevention is darn tasty and easy.
It can be, and if you fall, pick yourself up and get the book, The Vegan Way by Jackie Day.
Thank you, Emil.
Jackie Day is JD, a teacher and the author of The Vegan Way, 21 Days to a Happier, Healthier, Plant-Based Lifestyle that will transform your home, your diet, and you. Available where books are sold. And it's not about finding the right recipe. It's a book that's about finding the right reasons that compel you to follow the vegan way. And that's our show for today. Hey, thanks for listening. Contact us at PETA.org. You can find me on Twitter at Emil Amok. That's EMILAMOK. Or on amok.com, AMOK.com. Or see my work at ALDEF, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. That's at ALDEF, AALDEF.org/blog. Once again, thank you for listening. Check out all our episodes on your favorite podcast app or on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review the show. It helps get the word out about the issues you care about. Our music is provided by Carbonworks. Check them out on YouTube. And join us again next time for more insight into animal rights and the fight for a cruelty-free world on the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo.